Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington Commanders just signed former Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup to the roster, a guy that once was a 1,000-yard receiver, recently retired. Let's talk about it. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and that notification bell as well. Less than 40% if you guys are subscribed. It takes 1 second. It's free. Let's get right into it. So, I don't know, like a week-ish ago, maybe a little bit longer, it was reported, maybe 2 weeks ago, I don't even know because there's been so much going on, but it was reported that the Commanders were going to meet with Michael Gallup, or he had a meeting with them or a tryout, whatever. And I was expecting, him to get signed, relatively soon after that. It took a little bit of, time. Maybe he wasn't their first option. Maybe they were looking for some guys in free agency. It didn't work out, and they go ahead and sign Michael Gallup, who obviously played for Dallas for his whole career, was with the Raiders, but I don't think he ever played with them. Yeah, he just retired. But yeah, played for the Cowboys for like 6 years, was with Dan Quinn. Obviously, they didn't, they weren't in the meeting rooms and everything together because Michael Gallup's an offensive player and Dan Quinn was a DC. But he was talking, I just watched some of the press conference, and he was talking about how Dan Quinn, even though he was on the other side of the ball, would always come in, check on him. I think Michael Gallup's from Atlanta or Georgia, and, obviously Dan Quinn coached for the Atlanta Falcons for a minute. So, had some overlap there in terms of connections, and, they talk about that a lot. That's what Michael Gallup said, but he said that Dan Quinn was always checking on him, and that, for me, is really cool to see. A coach, even a guy that's not on his side of the ball, he's always checking in on him. Apparently, F.A. Obata said, that was one of the only guys that checked in on him, coaches. Like he said, not many coaches from the Commander staff last year, or I guess 2 years ago, checked on him after his broken leg, but Dan Quinn was there because I guess they had some kind of overlap. That's the little things like that is what really makes a difference, and the connections that you're able to make because of just being a really good guy and a really good leader is really important. So that's definitely something that was probably appealing to Michael Gallup. Some information here. Had a really good start to his career. I remember, I don't know if it was Thanksgiving, but it was like Redskins, Cowboys, and he had I think it might have been Thanksgiving. He had a really long catch, and that was, that kind of ended the game, or it might have been, I don't know exactly when it was, but I know he had a big catch, and I was like, who the heck is that? It was like he was a third round pick or something. Had in 2021, had an ACL tear, and after that, the production dipped, wasn't really the same player. Signed with the Raiders last year. He's back in the NFL. So these were his stats. In 2018, was drafted to the Cowboys. Let's see if it says, third round. I was right about that one. Out of Colorado State, was born in Georgia. Shout out, Georgia. And 500 yards in his rookie year, 2 touchdowns. I'm sure that 49-yard catch was against us. Maybe it was the year after that, but I'm pretty sure he was a rookie when he did that. And then you got 2019 was his big year, 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns in his second year, and 50 first downs. I mean, that's huge. That's great production in 14 games too. I mean, he was on pace for 1,200 yards in his second year, averaged 16.8 yards, 8 catch. And then 2020, his production dipped a little bit, had fewer yards, fewer touchdowns in more games, but still had a good year. 843 yards on 105 targets, 60 catches, 59, 5 touchdowns, and a long of 55. Then the next year was having a very solid season, close to the 2020 season. Was probably on pace for around that, amount of yards, maybe a little bit less. But, played in 9 games, 2 touchdowns, 445 yards on 62 targets, but had the torn ACL. And then after that, played in 14 games in 2022, was okay, but wasn't it just wasn't the same player. 424 yards, 4 touchdowns though, which is solid for a guy that only had 39 catches. 10% of his catches, more than 10% of his catches were touchdowns. And then 2023, 17 games, 34 catches, 2 touchdowns, 418 yards. So he was still an NFL player, but not the same guy he was pre-ACL tear. So, hey, He had a full year off. His body's probably the best it's been. I don't, he said he's been working out and everything, but if there's a time for him to ball out, it's this year with, the best quarterback he's played with in his career in Jaden Daniels, if he makes a team, first off, not Jaden Daniels, obviously, but Michael Gallup. And yeah, like I said, a year off, he had the ACL in 2021, the torn ACL, so wasn't fully good to go until the 2022 season. And even then, he's still getting used to everything. And then 2023 just wasn't the same for him. But maybe a year off, from the game, taking a step back and really getting healthy might help him out a little bit and could lead to a decent year. Not a 900, 1,000 yard season, but like 500, 600 yards. And for the Commanders, that would be good as a, fourth, fifth option on the team. You got Terry, you got Debo, as the top two guys, and then after that it's a competition. I think Noah Brown is clearly wide receiver 3, but who knows, maybe Luke McCaffrey balls out and he in the offseason maybe he's takes a really big jump. This is one of his first, it's like his third year playing receiver, including college, so maybe he balls out, maybe he's wide receiver 3, maybe Michael Gallup balls out in the offseason, looks like he did in 2020, 2021, and he ends up being wide receiver 3. Who knows? He is, 1996, so 29 years old, so still relatively young. He, what was I going to say, 6'1", so a little bit of a bigger wide receiver. He's got good hands, so I'm excited about the possibility. I think this is more like a Martavius Bryant signing from last year, just a little bit better because Martavius Bryant hadn't been in the league in a minute. And, also just was in and out of the league all the time. Michael Gallup had, 6 seasons of NFL production, solid NFL production. And I think that, he's only 1 year removed. And he always kind of had his eyes set on coming back. So I think that will work out better than the Martavius Bryant signing. And even the Martavius Bryant signing, it wasn't awful. I mean, he's still play in the preseason. Some people thought he was going to play. But, look at Martavius Bryant. He hadn't played since 2018, so that was 6 years. And even that year, it wasn't great production. It was similar to Gallup, but, Gallup had that production a year prior versus Martavius Bryant was in 2018, and we're in the year, last year 2024. So I think this is definitely a guy in Michael Gallup that has a much better chance of success than Martavius Bryant, and I think this is a solid signing for the Commanders. A veteran receiver, bring him in the room. I still wouldn't mind one more veteran. I wouldn't mind bringing back Crowder, maybe another receiver like Elijah Moore. But right now, this is what your wide receiver room is looking like. You got Terry, Debo, Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown. That's 4 that I would say locks. Maybe Noah Brown doesn't have a good offseason and they move on from him depending on how the contract looks, like the Texans did. But I think Noah Brown's going to make it for sure. So that puts you at 4. And then after that, maybe KJ Osborne. Michael Gallup is another guy. I would rather have him on the squad, but maybe Michael Gallup or KJ Osborne, one of those guys makes it. That puts you at 5. And then a rookie puts you at 6. And then maybe like a returner type, whether that's a rookie or, an undrafted free agent, which technically is still a rookie, or a vet that they sign, that puts you at 6 or 7, depending on what they want to do. And the receiver room's starting to fill out. So Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, I feel like those 2 guys are really competing for a spot. Like I said, I wouldn't mind bringing, in Crowder. Also, happy March Madness first day. I know a lot of people are excited about that. Let me pull up, just see some things, just make sure nothing crazy was said in the press conference. He said he has a good relationship with Terry. Says he would tell him, "You're a dog. I enjoy watching you after every game." Jaden Daniels and Michael Gallup FaceTimed a little bit before the press conference, so that was cool. And he's excited to play with Jaden Daniels. And he said he wasn't in the right headspace last year, so he retired. Said it stemmed from leaving Dallas and having a tough time adjusting. So, that makes sense. Everyone's going through something, and it's a big adjustment. Played 6 years in Dallas, going to a new team. Probably didn't know many people. And here, maybe he's not close with them, but Dan Quinn was in Dallas. Joe Witt was in Dallas. Maybe there's some other, low-key coaches that were in Dallas. And then you got Noah Brown, who they definitely overlapped, and they're probably somewhat close, hopefully. And that just makes it a little bit easier for him as well. And then Tyler Biadasz too. So you got some more familiar faces that could help the adjustment a lot better than, it went in Oakland, or I guess not Oakland, Las Vegas. So I think this will go a lot better. And he's not a lock to make the roster. We'll see what the contract is. But I think that if he is healthy and he really wants it, I think he can make the squad. I think he has a much better chance than Martavis Bryant did last year. But I don't think the Commanders are necessarily should be done at the wide receiver position. I think you add another receiver still, but this is a good step in the right direction. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.